How you doing? I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Today I wanted to talk about a new course that I've just made for Alcohol Mastery, and this one's called the 30-Day Alcohol Reboot. Now it's for anyone who really wants to get a grip on their alcohol, right? Who wants to either take a break for 30 days or who wants to quit drinking alcohol more into the long term. Now, whether you're quitting for personal reasons, whether you're quitting for health or wealth reasons, this course has got something to offer you, right? You know, quitting drinking alcohol without sort of going through the normal channels, the AA or any of that kind of stuff, doing it on your own. Even quitting drinking alcohol for 30 days gives you a great springboard into experiencing what it's like not to have alcohol in your life. You know, you go through 4 full weeks, you go through 4 weekends, you go through a lot of the day-to-day stuff that you would normally go through within that 30 days. And, you know, 30 days, it's not going to kick your habit, it's not going to get rid of the habit altogether, but it's a huge foundation, right? Gives you a huge foundation for continuing on. So basically what this course is comprised of is 3 different modules. The first module is the before, then there's the during unit, and then there's the after unit. And the before unit goes into a lot of stuff like perception and expectation, what to expect, right, from quitting drinking for 30 days, how to plan things out, how to prepare yourself, right, and also how to keep yourself motivated. And we go through sort of the motivation, because I think motivation is one of the biggest things throughout any quit drinking journey. We carry on that theme throughout the during unit. Now the during unit is broken down into 4 weeks, week 1, 2, 3 and 4, and it basically goes through a lot of different stuff of what you're going to experience in the first 4 weeks, right? The first week is the most comprehensive, right? That goes through a lot of stuff like cravings and again, expectations, and how do you get over sleeping, how do you deal with people, how do you deal with your environment, all that kind of stuff, you know, all encapsulated within that first week. You know, weeks 2, 3 and 4 go much more into how to keep yourself going, how to keep your body going, how to keep your mind going, and, you know, keep things on an even perspective. And week 4 basically tapers things down, so you're preparing to stop the 30-day challenge, right? Now, in the after unit, bit of in week 4 as well, we're going to start looking at what do you do afterwards, right? Now this is looked at from 2 different perspectives. First, the perspective that you're going to carry on with this journey, that you've got to the 30 days, you understand things from that perspective now, you've got all that experience of those 30 days before you, and we look at how you're going to carry on, you know, how you're going to take those lessons forward and continue on to 60 days, 90 days, you know, 6 months, a year, that kind of thing. We also are going to look at what if you get to the 30-day mark and you think, right, I'm going back onto the alcohol now. Now, I hope you don't go back there, but, you know, some people are going to take this and run with it. So, look, I'm going to show you a couple of the different lessons from the course, and afterwards we'll come back and I'll tell you how you can sign up for the course. The next question is, will I get alcohol withdrawal? So first we'll ask, what is alcohol withdrawal? Now, according to webmd.com, the symptoms of alcohol withdrawal syndrome usually appear between 6 and 12 hours after the person has stopped drinking alcohol. The symptoms might include shaky hands, sweating, mild anxiety, nausea, vomiting, headaches, and insomnia. Now, if you think about it, these are all symptoms that come with the natural cycle of alcohol drinking. How do you feel after a heavy bout of drinking? We don't usually call these symptoms withdrawal symptoms. We usually call them hangover symptoms, right? And these hangover symptoms usually happen between 6 and 12 hours after we stop drinking. Now, these are recurring withdrawal symptoms, right? They are consequences of drinking the alcohol, not in quitting drinking the alcohol. Heavy drinking is always followed by a period of alcohol withdrawal. That period is generally known as the hangover. The point is that you've already gone through alcohol withdrawal multiple times if you are any way, shape or form of a heavy drinker. Every time you get a hangover after a heavy drinking session, that's a mixture of the physical consequences of your drinking, the dehydration, the toxic poisoning, and it's also a form of alcohol withdrawal. Now, don't forget, you feel all these symptoms for a reason. Pain and suffering are there for a reason. They are a gift, right? They are telling you that what you are doing is screwed up. They are there to force you to stop doing what you're doing. Now, the first place most people go when they're looking for information about quitting drinking or alcohol withdrawal or the symptoms and side effects and all that kind of stuff is Google or one of the other search engines. Now, the internet can provide us with a lot of resources, but therein lies the big problem, the big elephant in the room. The information that's provided in the first few entries of any search result across the internet are the websites who have paid to be there in one form or another. Now, the information that's presented on these web pages is heavily targeted towards the severe end of the scale, that small minority of people who require medical attention to quit alcohol. Now, you come to this page, this same page for these heavy drinkers, looking for some guidance on the best way of going about stopping alcohol, and you're met with a lot of these just horror stories. And too much negative information can alter your expectations. It can heighten your fears, and it can lead you to believe that your problem is worse than it actually is. And remember, ultimately, your expectations transform your experiences. So as I've said, unless you were a long-term heavy drinker, meaning that you've been drinking large quantities of alcohol every day for weeks or months, you should expect a very positive outcome. Your withdrawal symptoms are usually going to be nothing more than the normal hangover discomfort that you've gone through many, many times in the past. Now, unpleasant as these symptoms can be, they are only temporary. You know this. You've gone through it loads and loads of times. So have patience. Treat the first day or two of your quit as you would any other hangover. Soak up the discomfort and think about the benefits that the 30-day alcohol reboot will bring for you. Now, as an exercise, just think about your previous hangovers. How many of them have produced the symptoms of shaky hands, sweating, nausea, vomiting, headache, mild anxiety? How many of them have come on between 6 and 12 hours after you've stopped drinking? Is this a hangover, or is it alcohol withdrawal? So how should you prepare your body and your mind for the 30-day alcohol reboot? In this section, we're going to look at preparing your mind and preparing your body for the next 30 days without alcohol. Now, in your personal preparation, you have 3 areas of control. These are your mind and body, your environment, and the people in your life. We'll deal with each of these areas from greater to lesser influence, starting with preparing your mind and your body. Now, your mind is definitely the place where you have the most control. In fact, all of your own personal control comes via your mind, regardless of the symptoms, side effects, or the cravings, what type of environment you live in, or the humours of the people in your life. None of these things can influence you if you set your mind up properly. Now, what I mean by setting your mind up properly is by having a positive growth mindset from the very beginning. Now, quitting drinking alcohol for a month is a choice that you've made. Between now and the end of the challenge, there are going to be many other choices. For instance, do you go back to the bars with your friends? What do you do if you feel cravings? What if you can't sleep? How will you relax without alcohol? And so on. These are all choices. In each of these areas, you have a choice. Your mind works best when it has a very simple, very clear instruction about what to do. Complexity breeds confusion. Too much confusion can be a recipe for disaster. And you can make things much simpler through effective preparation. Preparation trains your mind. It allows your mind to rehearse the possibilities and to see what might happen and how to act when that does happen. Now let's take a look at 3 simple techniques for preparing your mind. These techniques are approaching things from the right mindset, using affirmations, and making a reminder video. So first, let's look at how to approach things from the right mindset. A mindset is a way of looking at things, the lens through which you perceive the world around you. And for our purposes, we're going to look at 4 different mindsets: positive, negative, fixed, and growth. And we'll start with the positive mindset versus the negative mindset. Now, we all know that there is a positive and a negative way of looking at everything. A common way of expressing this is glass half full or glass half empty, right? That's a mindset. Now, most people have a tendency to perceive things as generally positive or generally negative, depending on what their mindset is. The fixed versus growth mindset, on the other hand, is very similar. In the fixed mindset, the person believes that their natural talents and their natural abilities that they are born with, these are fixed and they cannot be changed. The growth mindset believer, on the other hand, looks at these natural talents and abilities as just a starting point, like the first step on life's journey. Now, people with a growth mindset believe that anything they want to learn can be learned. They believe that people can improve themselves exponentially from where they started out. A positive and a growth mindset will help you to speed through any obstacles that you'll meet along the way in this journey. So how do you use the positive and the growth mindset? Anytime you run into a problem or an obstacle, try to look at things from a positive viewpoint. Instead of focusing on the problem, focus on the solution. Look at the obstacle and see how you can overcome or circumvent it, right? Also, make sure that you look at any obstacle or challenge in life, good or bad, as a learning experience. So what's the difference between problems and solutions? Problems are usually backward facing. You have to look back in your own timeline to see what the problem is, when it started, what caused the problems, and so on. Sometimes it's difficult to know what the exact problem is. It's even more difficult to understand the cause. The nature of the problem, or the exact cause, might be something in the distant past, something that you've long forgotten about. Now, it's much better to think about any challenges or obstacles in terms of looking for a solution. This is forward thinking. It focuses your attention on the future and not on the past. When you come up with your solution, you apply that solution and you learn something of value that you can take forward for the next time you come across a similar obstacle. Now, another mindset shift is to look at obstacles as something that you can circumvent, you can go around. Now, many people approach obstacles as things that have to be dealt with there and then. They have to be figured out, a problem that needs to be solved. Now, instead, as you come up against an obstacle, ask yourself if there is a simple way to go over the problem or around the obstacle, to move the obstacle out of your way, and so on. Now, example of problem sidestepping is where somebody offers you a drink and you say no, but this idiot won't take no for an answer. The person becomes an obstacle. So what's the easiest way of circumventing this obstacle? Walk away. Conveniently spot somebody else over the other side of the room, someone that you haven't spoken to in ages. You say, I'll speak to you later, to the idiot, and you walk away, right? It's simple. It's effective. Another smart technique for preparing your mind is to use affirmations. Now, affirmations are simply positive personal sentences that you repeat to yourself over and over again. Now, think about affirmations as your personal catchphrases. When you first create your affirmations, they should be positive, in the present tense, and concise. So examples of positive affirmations might be, I feel relaxed without alcohol. I feel fantastic just being with my friends. My body feels great and it feels better and better every day. I'm in complete control of my habits. I am changing my life for the better. I only engage in habits that support my well-being. Now, you can repeat your affirmations whenever and wherever you want. Say them to yourself when you feel a craving. Repeat them when you're feeling a bit down and you need a pick-me-up. Rerun them in your head when you're under pressure from your friends to take a drink, or take yourself off to a quiet place and just read your list out to yourself. Now, affirmations refocus your mind back onto what's important. It's impossible for you to think more than one thing at a time, and affirmations take advantage of this, right? While you're repeating your positive sentences, it's very difficult for you to indulge in defeating negative self-talk. While I was going through the first few days of my quit, I'd spend 10 minutes every morning writing my affirmations. I still do it now. The only difference now is that my affirmations focus on a completely different area of my life. I usually have 12 to 15 affirmations in total. I write them down on a blank sheet of paper while repeating them out loud. And once I finish writing them down, I repeat them out loud once more. I rerun the whole process again in the evening. And this routine helps to reprogram my mind for the things that I want to happen. It's a form of self-propaganda. When I feel my affirmations are completely embedded into my mind, I scratch them out from my pad and I add new ones. Now, no matter where you go in life, we're surrounded by other people's brainwashing. That's what advertising is. It's basic propaganda. Think about all the advertising that you remember from your childhood, all those little jingles and catchy sentences. It's brainwashing at its best, and we still remember a lot of this stuff now. It works because that's how the human brain works. Why not use this to your own advantage? Brainwash yourself into believing the things that you want to believe. Now, the final technique I want to talk about here is creating a reminder video. We all have our reasons for quitting alcohol. And again, I encourage you to write them down on paper. You can take out that sheet of paper anytime you need motivation during your 30-day alcohol reboot, reminding yourself why you started this journey in the first place. A more modern and significant method of achieving the same end is just to record a reminder video. You can use this reminder video to create a personal and very powerful speech addressed to yourself. In this video, you start out by addressing yourself by name, right? Hi, John. You then go on to explain to yourself why you're doing this, how you feel about yourself in that moment, why you're making the video, and how much you have this desire for change. You tell yourself that this person that you are now in the moment is not the person that you want to be. You address your future self as if they have arrived at that place that you want to be. At the end, you give them a cautionary note. Tell them that you know how good it feels to be in that place where you are now, and how much you do not want for them to come back to where you are right now in this moment. The reason this works so well is because you can see in front of your eyes the person that you used to be. Now, when you look back at this video in 4 weeks or 4 years, you'll see the old you that you've succeeded in moving away from and getting away from. This is a very simple technique for future motivation, and it doesn't take very long to set up. We all have access to some sort of a video camera these days, and at the very least we have a camera on our mobile phones. The only rule is to keep it very simple. As I say, simplicity is the best. As soon as you start to exaggerate things, it gets complicated. You don't need a script. It's going to be much more authentic and have much more impact if what you say is unscripted. If you want to write down some very basic notes, fine, but make sure that your delivery comes from the heart. Set up your video recorder in a quiet spot, press the record button, and create your masterpiece. So, as an exercise, first try and maintain a positive and growth mindset at all times. Prepare, plan, and speak to yourself positively. Believe in your inherent desire for learning. Think about solutions instead of problems. What's the easiest way to circumvent or overcome an obstacle? Second, plan your affirmations. Keep them positive, in the present tense, and concise. Write and repeat these affirmations once in the morning and once in the evening. Carry a copy with you that you can take out whenever you feel you need motivation. And finally, create your personal pep video. When you record the video, speak from the heart. Explain to your future self why you are doing this and what you hope to achieve. Let's move on to your final area of personal control, how you can prepare the people in your life for your 30-day alcohol reboot. Now, the people in your life represent the area where you have the least amount of control. Having said that, this is certainly an area which can have the most influence on your journey. Now, John Donne said, "No man is an island," and he was right. We all need other people. Everyone relies on everyone else, right? On other people. Although it's not impossible to achieve things on your own, it's much easier when you have the help of those around you, especially those who are closest to you. Now, you might not think that you need any help, and maybe you don't. I like to think along those lines. I like to think I can do anything on my own. I don't need anyone else's permission, I don't need their input, and I certainly don't need their interference. Having said that, not taking other people into account can create unnecessary and sometimes substantial barriers to your progress. Now, as with your environment, it's possible to lock yourself away for 30 days. You can refuse to take phone calls, check emails, access Facebook, Instagram, whatever, right? But again, this is not the most viable or desirable outcome. Most of us need regular social interaction, right? We have to work, we have to socialize, we have to be with our families and friends. And it's very important to get at least some of these family and friends on your side. When I quit drinking alcohol, I told my partner first, then I told my son, then I told my best friend, and finally I told my father and my brothers and sisters. I ignored everyone else. Everyone that didn't need to know, didn't need to know. Full stop. Now, it can be quite challenging to tell people that you're going to quit drinking, even if it's only for 30 days, right? Think about it. What's the first thing that these other people are going to think when you tell them that you're quitting drinking? You just know that some people will automatically think that you've got a problem. It's what we've been trained to do. If somebody says they're cutting down or quitting drinking alcohol, then they're obviously drinking too much. Of course, this then leads to labeling or generalization at its finest. You're a problem drinker. You're dependent on alcohol. Maybe you're an alcoholic. Now, the big reason for most people quitting drinking alcohol is they're actually sick of putting this toxin into the body. They've had enough. They want to get away from this drug. You drink your fair share, right? But you certainly don't drink any more than any of your friends. The problem is you are starting to feel adverse effects from that drinking. You feel what the alcohol is doing to your body. You don't like how the alcohol is affecting your life. Does that make you a problem drinker? Does that make you dependent on alcohol? Does it make you an alcoholic? Now, in my mind, it makes you an intelligent person. You see a problem and you find a solution. It's what a smart person does, right? I've got a terrible cough in the morning. I think I'll quit smoking. I've gained a few pounds. I'll go on a diet. I'm bored of my job. I'll look for a new one. My car is giving me problems. I'll go get it fixed or I'll buy a new one. My hand hurts when I stick it into the fire. I'll stop putting my hand into the fire. Now, how do you tell people that you're quitting drinking? I think the best way to tell anyone that you're quitting drinking is just not to tell them that you're quitting drinking. I know it sounds a bit weird. Again, it's about reframing your whole situation and then refocusing their attention where you want their attention to be focused. Of course, you have to tell them something. It's difficult to just stop drinking and say nothing. People are curious. People want to know why you're not drinking anymore. The thing to understand about making your explanations about not doing something is that people are going to focus their attention where you focus their attention. You don't have to focus that attention on the alcohol. You focus their attention on one of your reasons to quit drinking. For instance, you want to lose weight, you want to run a marathon, or you have a big workload this month and that's why you're quitting. This becomes your main goal, not quitting drinking. As part of this main goal, let's say losing weight, you just can't drink alcohol, right? You've refocused their attention away from the alcohol and onto your weight loss. Now, is this lying? No, it's telling people your version of the truth. Now, the reason it's so important to tell the closest people to you is because their life is going to be affected to one degree or another by your choices. Now, each person in your life has their own way of seeing things. They picture their lives within a certain framework, right? They all have their own perceptions about you within that personal framework. When you take on a big challenge, such as quitting drinking for 30 days, the changes that you are going to have to make set off little alarm bells ringing in the minds of your nearest and dearest. And the first thing my partner said to me when I told her I was quitting drinking was that she wouldn't be joining me. She would continue to drink, right? Even though she was 100% behind my decision to quit, and she told me that she would support me in any way she could, she still wanted to enjoy her glass of red wine in the evenings. However much I tried not to allow my decision to affect her, it did, right? We share our lives together. What we do affects each other. For the first couple of weeks, she felt very uncomfortable drinking in front of me. Now she's totally fine with it. It's part of my life and her perception that I don't drink. It's a part of my friend's life and perception that I don't drink, right? Now, human beings, we don't like change, and that includes your nearest and dearest. They especially don't like it when that change is being forced on them by somebody else, even if that somebody else is a close friend or relation. So what do? It's all about communication. Tell them about your plans. Tell them as soon as possible and reassure them that you will be doing your best to minimize the effects that your decision has on them. Now, as we've already seen, you don't have to tell them that you're quitting drinking alcohol. All you have to do is say that you're making a couple of changes over the next month, and one of them includes stopping drinking alcohol. Explain to them why you're doing it and that you're not going to force that decision onto them. So again, who you tell is completely up to you. Tell who you need to tell and don't tell the rest. Because you're only doing this for 30 days, there is not such a great problem if you only want to tell the closest people to you, right? 1 or 2 people, the ones who you think will help you out the most. If you decide to continue not drinking alcohol after that 30 days, you can reassess your situation from there. Now, as an exercise, think about who you're going to tell, how you're going to tell them, what are you going to say. Will you tell them you're quitting drinking alcohol, or will you explain it in terms of some other change and just weave the alcohol quitting into that? Are some people going to be tougher than others to tell, and who are these problem people? So I hope you enjoyed that. There's a lot more inside the course. It's laid out in a very step-by-step and methodical approach from, as I say, the before unit, how to deal with things, how to get yourself prepared to start this journey, a step-by-step guide to the first 4 weeks, and then what to do afterwards. So if you want to sign up for the course, just click on the link down here below and it will take you to the page where you can sign up for it. Until next time, my name is Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Take care of yourself, keep the alcohol out of your mouth, onwards and upwards. Take care. All right, good luck. Bye now. Bye.